4 and 5. Item 4 being protection of water quality, resolution number 2017-50. I'll move the item. Motion and a second. Discussion.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Miller.
I've heard a number of people talk about the fact that Rosemont is, and Mr. Huckleberry's memo stated that Rosemont was kind of trying to do a backdoor process to get the water standards reduced. My understanding is Rosemont has tested these waters and that they are already very contaminated, and they want nothing more than merely to benchmark to the current standards. So I would like to make that clear. And I also, you know, a lot of people have gotten up and spoken about the environment, and there are a lot of experts in the room. I absolutely am 100% for protecting the environment as much as we possibly can.
Now, that sounds like you're speaking to Resolution 51.
Well, the water quality comes in there. And they're all intertwined, so if you don't mind, I'd like to make these comments related to this item. And the thing of it is, they're talking about water sustainability. I agree, we need to do what we can to protect it as much as possible, but we also need to make trade-offs. Sustainability is about more than just the environmental trade-offs. We've got to look at economic trade-offs. One person just talked about parents having to make a choice between cooling their home and feeding their children. If you don't have a job, that choice becomes even more difficult, which is the mine is going to provide really high-paying jobs. Do we need to do everything we can to protect the water quality? Absolutely. But we also need to understand there are other variables in this equation, as cited by the professor who just spoke about those choices. So I believe firmly that we need to do everything we can to protect the environment, but I also believe that we need to help economic development in Pima County to help the poor. So I am not going to support this resolution. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
I too have heard similar situations with the fact that the Hudbay Corporation is trying to get a benchmark of the water that's already there. And I think that they have done some testing by the ADEQ, and I think the results, when they are manifested, are going to be kind of surprising as to the quality of that water. But basically, I'd just like to address the actual review process, the triennial review process. It's a normal process which states reviews and revises their water, ADEQ's water quality standards. It's an ongoing process. It happens every 3 years. There's no outside effort, or could there ever be, to prompt this review, because it's already part of their mandated process plan, and it's done every 3 years, and it is required by the EPA. They are the ones that will ultimately make the decision. There's no outside agency, outside corporation, outside governmental jurisdiction that can make any changes to their findings. It's definitely as a result of their own findings, and they cannot be influenced by any outside entities of any kind. And there's this talk that it's limiting participation by the public in general, and Pima County in specific. Anyone can comment and participate through this process. The resolution states on number 1, after the be it resolved that Pima County shall participate. Well, there's nothing prohibiting Pima County from participating, and I'm not quite sure what that level of participation is, because the findings are going to be from the Arizona Department of Economic Quality. So I think this is a superfluous resolution, and I too am not going to support it.
Thank you, Supervisor Christie. Supervisor Elias.
Well, you know, I'm sorry. We've seen this before from previous companies that wanted to build that mine there at Rosemont. The old end around routine. Yeah, we're not going to talk to Pima County about an air quality permit because we can just go to our friends at the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality and get it through. And guess what? They gave them a permit. God, what a surprise. I was shocked personally, you know? Didn't even have any gray hair in my mustache until that came through. So we've seen this before. This is nothing new. This is, you know, three card Monte or the old shell game. You know, the truth is, when we talk about trade-offs, I'm not willing to trade off the Santa Rita Mountains, Chu Doag, as the Ton Autumn call that mountain, Long Mountain. I'm not willing to trade that off. You want to talk about economics, the most valuable asset that we have here in all of southern Arizona are the Sky Islands and the Sonoran Desert that we have. They make us rich. They sustain human existence in this area. So if you think this 7th generation Arizona is going to vote to trade that off, you got another thing coming. That ain't going to happen. And I'm going to speak out about it as loud and as long as I need to, because it's critical. So please, the waters in Siniega Creek, Davidson Canyon, still need to be protected. And we talk about the Clean Water Act. You know what? It is saving us right now in southern Arizona. And we need to keep it in place, and we need to make sure that it remains vital, that it protects the ephemeral rivers of the Southwest, and that we don't fall prey to Governor Ducey's charade that's going on last week that he talks about, where he wants to become the controller of the rivers and waterways of Arizona. I'm sorry. That's something that needs to be protected at the federal level, because, frankly, the states have shown that they are irresponsible. We like to think back on that time when the EPA was put together as this glorious time when Republicans took a look at environmental issues and said, yeah, we should deal with that. Let's be honest, the Cuyahoga River was on fire in Pittsburgh.
So were the Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes, too. Something had to be done. Today, we face the same critical kind of decisions that need to be made. I'll save my comments about Resolution 51 until the next item that we consider. But we'd be foolish not to approve this resolution, not to protect the waters of southern Arizona, not to protect the Sonoran Desert, not to protect the Santa Rita Mountains, Chu, Doag. We'd be foolish. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I want to just follow up and say I'm totally in support of the comments you made and would like to make the following observation. In terms of Pima County participating, we want to participate by showing the real science that we have collected, and that should be very much an element in any decision-making process. And as toward the economic development, do we want to trade 40 jobs or 400 jobs for 4,000 jobs? Because that's what we're doing if we don't support this resolution. There are trade-offs, and I can't understand why any pollution of water is acceptable at all. If there is a base pollution with this watershed, we need to clean it up, not keep it there. It needs to get cleaned up, period. Supervisor Valadez, do you have any comments? Okay, then if there, we'll call the question. Roll call.
Supervisor Christie?
No?
Supervisor Elias?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
No.
Supervisor Valadez?
Aye.
Chair Bronson?
Aye, motion carries. We move on to item